to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets. I'm your host, TJ Mitchell, here to go over Monday's one game slate of action. Yep, that's right. One big game, only game on the slate. It's a 6.5 over under. Montreal is home against Winnipeg, two teams that are essentially completely dead at this point. If you're watching this video, you're going to get 3 videos from me this week, and none of them will have me in a jersey because I'm not in the same location. As I mentioned before, I do have peeps though. So I'm going to eat a peep on the show just to do something of fun. I like peeps. I don't know why they get such a bad rep. They're just big sugar covered marshmallows. Like, I don't get what's wrong with that. So, I don't understand why everyone hates on peeps. They're delicious, but we'll move forward to the one game. I'll give you a little bonus content right now. Just more of a strategy I'm working on. Still trying to get some numbers put together, how profitable I've been with it. But we're going to go over this game. Like I said, 6.5 over under. It's a back-to-back Winnipeg team, a Montreal team that I don't trust. The main thing here is we're going to have either Caden Primo or Montembeault in net for Montreal. That isn't good. That's very bad. Jake Allen left last game. He's been playing really well for them, but he left last game with lower body injury. So I don't imagine he's going to go here against Winnipeg. They called up Caden. So it's just, there's really no good feeling there. And this Winnipeg team, for everything they do wrong defensively, for all the opportunities they give up, I don't feel overly confident in betting the under here. And it's a back-to-back team. I think I have to shade the over just for that, for the goaltending concerns. We're also going to be seeing the backup goalie for Winnipeg. Connor Hellebuyck is going on Sunday. So Monday he will almost certainly sit. I can't imagine they run him back. There's really not much to play for at this point other than pride. I assume Eric Kahn will get the start. He's been good, but I don't really trust it. I think if you're playing DraftKings, I'm going to start here rather than then I'll get to the money lines. If you're playing DraftKings and you're playing a showdown, I would strongly suggest overstacking Montreal to A, get different, but B, they should be running a 5-forward power play again. That was Caulfield, Dvorak, Gallagher, Hoffman, and Suzuki. I truly think you could run all 5 of them potentially within the goalie. The guy you probably take out of the mix is probably, it's got to be Hoffman. So I think if you run the Suzuki, Caulfield, Dvorak, Gallagher with the goalie and then just any bring back on Winnipeg, that's going to be probably the way I'm going to do it, just to get contrarian rather than trying to run the 5-man Winnipeg, which I think more people are going to go to. If you're more into football DFS showdowns for the bigger money, it's a similar mentality to when you took an underdog 5-1 sack because no one had it to be unduped. Now, I'm not sure how likely you'll be duped in these scenarios. Also, if you run a 5-1, you could technically still captain the goalie there, but hope for like a 5-0 shutout. But I'm not really going to go down that rabbit hole. But I do think that's my mentality on DraftKings. And if Winnipeg wins, which they probably should win, it's kind of like you're going to be playing one-offs with Winnipeg. And if you don't get that right defenseman or whatever, I just don't play DFS that way, where it's like, I really hope that I can hit on one random guy that gets, 3 shots in a goal versus anyone else. So I'd rather just not do that personally and go with what I know and understand with Montreal at lower ownership. As far as this game is actually concerned, I'm going to bet Montreal plus money at home. They played really, really well. They got outplayed by Toronto. Sure, they held it close, only losing 3-2. They got Petrie back in the mix. They will lose Duren for the rest of the year, but he's barely played anyways. I just don't really think this team is quite as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Well, I think Winnipeg might just be a little bit worse than everyone is kind of alluding them to be at this point in the season. Winnipeg has not fixed their defensive woes at all. They're still giving up a ton of high danger chances against. It's a back-to-back team on the road. I really don't see why you're going to lay money on Winnipeg at this point, other than like maybe you could talk yourself into a minor decent trend of recent play. They took Colorado to overtime and before they lost, big improvement for them compared to normally when they just lose in regulation. So we haven't seen them on Sunday yet. They play Ottawa. Ottawa's banged up. I think that my plan is, rather than it right now, I'm going to wait. Like I said, it's plus 125 Montreal. If Winnipeg does kind of put the boots to them, I'll probably let that game end and then check it. see if I can't get it. Maybe 135, 140 would be even better, obviously. I also think I'll bet a reverse puck line meaning -1.5 for Montreal. Once those lines come out, just go for the empty netter. Why not? I just have no interest in putting any money that I made on Winnipeg ever again. And they're just, at -155, but road back to back. I don't understand why you do it. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then I'll give you a little bit of bonus content before I let you go. And go over kind of my favorite guys in this game and a couple prop bets that I think I'm going to have. So the new mentality I've had, and I'm kind of already getting into it with when I was talking about Montreal, is the line stacking props. So you can't put them together in parlays. And maybe I kind of already mentioned this in the show. I talk so much at this point, sometimes I lose track. But what you can do is you can look at guys like, Scheifele, for example. He correlates with Ehlers and Stastny. And on the power play, they actually had him with Morrissey and Schmidt, but their power plays were a mess. Let's not even look at that. So if you're going to take Scheifele, you can also take, Ehlers, Stastny, and anyone else is going to correlate with him as much as possible. Now, as I was kind of getting to there, Scheifele didn't really correlate with any power play. So you're really hoping that 5-on-5, you kind of luck into those points. So that's not really one I'm going to be targeting on this slate. While Dubois and Connor are a lot more likely to correlate, they correlate on the power play at all times. They correlate at 5-on-5 at all times. So if you really like Connor to get, he's normally 1.5, and I bet he will be here again. I really don't think he's going to get 2 points without Dubois getting 1. So why not take both and take all of that money? Dubois has been -130, 135. One of my more favorite bets in the right circumstances, which just could be Montreal. On the other hand, with Montreal, Caulfield and Suzuki are always on the ice together, almost at all times. And you're getting them at closer to, again, -130. Really good matchup here. I think they'll have a lot of opportunity. Caulfield's been absolutely scorching hot. Is it something where I want to bet the house on it? No, because if that line ends up getting bullied by the Scheifele line or what have you, you might be in a bad situation. But this Caulfield Suzuki line against Toronto, who, every time I talk about Toronto, I always tell you, a bit better defensively than we give them credit for. Suzuki had 4 shots on goal. Caulfield had 4 shots on goal, 1 get blocked, 1 missed the net. So they were finding offense regardless. This also, it does help that they both played about 24 minutes of ice time. That's a lot for a forward on any team, as much as you're going to find, including McDavid. So getting that kind of usage is what I would be more interested on this slate. And just my mentality is betting it in perpetuity. It's not like, you hope it hits every night, obviously. And some players are point of game players that will hit way more often than not. But if you're betting 2 or 3 guys, which there's really not a perfect third here, so it really is just kind of the 2. Or you could bet, and I've done this before as well, you kind of game stack those lines. It is a little bit more tricky because you really can't tell. And some coaches are a bit more specific with how they line match. I don't think we're going to see a ton of strong line matching here. So it is a little frustrating when you're like watching one line get caved in against your line and, well, now how's that line going to score? But I do think you could game stack it here. I'd be, I guess expecting Scheifele to be more on that Caulfield line, meaning that Connor and Dubois might get a little bit more free space. It's hard to know for sure because if you look at the last game that Montreal played, there is really no really strong correlation to who Suzuki and Caulfield went against other than Brody and Muzzin for Toronto. They kind of just deployed their lines throughout. At 5-on-5, most lines did pretty well against them, but they did take a number of penalties that gave them a lot more opportunity. So, yeah, I don't know if there's going to be one line in Winnipeg that's going to get more time. So this game might be a good one to just take a stab at it. Check the lines, see what you like. Take 4 point props from the same game. You can't parlay them together, obviously, but if you put, $100 on 4 point props, you might be pulling back about, $180. That's a nice $80 profit on potentially just 2 goals. That's kind of one thing I've been toying with. It's not perfect. Some games, I've had situations where I had 3 line mates, like, maybe a Dallas one, for example, where like that line is Pavelski, Robertson, Hintz, always correlated 5-on-5 and power play. I've had that hit the first goal of the game, all 3 of them. So it is a bit boom or bust. It's not for everyone, but you also get a little bit of a hedge built in because if one of your guys scores and not everyone assists, but if you get 2 of the points through, you're still going to make a small profit. So it's kind of a built-in hedge there, but that's kind of something I've been toying with, and trying to figure out the right teams to target with it is what I'm more of working on. Like Dallas makes a lot of sense. Montreal has worked out decently okay, but they're a team I like too because of that strong correlation, as I mentioned. Chicago's another one I really like because now I said that until Sunday when they changed their lines up on me. But normally Chicago was thrilled DeBrincat and Kane were rolling them out all together at all times. So those are the teams you're looking for. Teams that have, three guys all together and on the first power play together. That's the most optimal way because there's such a big boost from that power play. If they score, they still get the same, the points count the same. So that's a strategy. So I'm going to give you my best bets here. Number one is going to be the Caulfield point. That's going to be the easier, if you're parlaying with other sports, because there's no real NHL parlaying tonight. I think that's the one to include, the easiest one to pick. Suzuki makes a ton of sense as well. I get some people might like Suzuki more just because he's more of a playmaker. The center, touches the puck a little bit more, but Caulfield has been such a great and prolific shooter right now that it's really hard for me to not do. And I get just taking Caulfield to score, but if you're trying to play it safe and you're parlaying pieces, one of those two probably make the most sense. And that's really price specific because I agree, like Shirley's probably more opposite, like more likely to get a point in a game, but Shirley's going to be minus 200 or maybe, you need 2 points to hit. So you're not really going to be, I don't think, laying that kind of odds here. But you could. I think Dubois is another one that's going to be equally as kind of in my mind, a guy that I might be playing. And then other than that, shots, I'm going to be pretty here nor there. Montreal gives up an absolute metric ton of shots. So I do think you could reasonably talk yourself into a lot of shot props on Winnipeg. I might end up just taking 2 or 3 of them. I might just take, Connors and Ehlers and maybe even Dubois. Those are probably the easiest 3. Hold on, actually, before I finish this up, let me pull up the Corsi. So Connor, this is exactly what I thought. So the entire game, Ehlers over that season is the highest. So, averaging almost 7.5 shot attempts right around there per game over the course of the season. So I think here is a good spot for him in perpetuity, and also 7.9 over the last 10. Caulfield is averaging 5 over the last 10. Connors is kind of broken right now because he missed games, but he's averaging 4 or 5. So, I think Ehlers makes a little bit more sense as kind of the optimal guy, but Connor will bring it back. I do think he'll get back up there in no time flat. And then Caulfield as well. Morrissey's been shooting a lot, 6 attempts per game over the last 10, but defensemen are always more risky. So depending on the price. But that is going to be all. Sorry if the lighting's a little bit weird. The light's like right over my head. I'm going to work on this. So if the lighting's a little bit bad, I'm sorry. Got to be here all week, and I'll be back to normal in my normal office. But thank you for watching. One game, taking Montreal, like I said, I don't love it. So it's not like a favorite bet there. I think props are interesting, and I'm just going to have a lot of single props, just a lot of straight bets. I already gave you them all, and I'll be tweeting them out on Monday. So thank you for listening. Rate, review, comment, all that stuff. And we will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good one.